Good evening, Facebook family and YouTube family. Welcome to another Sunday evening session. I hope everybody's had a beautiful day today. The weather's been perfect, it's been superb, and I've just been enjoying this beautiful Sunday. I pray that everybody's had a blessed day, have a blessed week. What I want to encourage you tonight is to get ready, invite as many people as you can, begin to share this YouTube video with as many people as you possibly can to enlighten our community on police brutality, especially amongst our Black men in these United States. We have guest panels tonight as well. And Brian is going to bring them on. I will only be doing the introduction. I'm not going to be as involved as in with other people. Brian. So tonight we're going to get started with bringing Brian on so we can get this thing going. We are waiting for the other people to come aboard. If you can, please chime in with us. Tell as many people as you can, because we're about to get this show on the road.
Let me apologize. We have been having all kinds of technical difficulties. So we are literally, let me rephrase that. I am Facebook illiterate, so I do need a producer. This has just been a madhouse. I've been trying to figure this out. But anyway, I don't know if Brother Raj was supposed to be joining us. Brother Trey and Brother Jermichael were all supposed to be joining. I don't know if they got the invite, but we tried to send the invite. So guys, I apologize. If we don't get you all on, if you can't come live via video tonight, then we will set it up for next week. I know next week is Super Bowl Sunday, so you know how Black folks are with the Super Bowl. Well, we may do it. We may do it on a Saturday or something like that. Definitely. But I want to apologize. Like I said again, we'll do it via Zoom and we'll tap into it. I can do it that way. So that way I'm familiar with. I don't do Facebook, guys, so I apologize again. But some of the things we wanted to deal with tonight was police brutality in the Black community. Is what we were going to have a discussion about. In the panel that we were going to bring on, they were actually well equipped to talk about this. So we'll get into the discussion and we'll briefly discuss it because there's been over the last, let's just say this year, 2023, we faced all type of police brutality in our community. And it appears to be escalating, not de-escalating. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about the actual effects of police brutality on our community, especially Black men, but Black women too, because Black women are, Breonna Taylor situation a couple of years ago is not something new in our community as it relates to Black women either. It's just not media exposed as much as Black men. But definitely police brutality is affecting our community in more ways than one. Psychologically, I think there's a lot of PTSD that's actually being developed from this, from a standpoint of just our mental health.
Yes.
And not only that, we know the physical ramifications if a person is tased with a taser. And then if, God forbid, but if it escalates beyond that, most likely we're going to have what we've been seeing in the media for the last 3 weeks, death occurring with, excessive beatings. With the Tyree Nichols situation in Memphis, Tennessee, and then Mississippi, same situation, very identical to a young man that was also beat to death. So It's a lot to talk about, guys. It's a lot to digest. So we're going to try to, like I said, unpack this the best way we can, and just kind of get into the discussion, Janice and I. And again, I apologize to Brother Siraj. I apologize to Brother Trey and Brother Jermichael, our guest panelists that were going to be on. So Janice is going to see if she can send them invites right now, and maybe they can still get on. But let me just start by giving some quick stats. Black Americans make up about 13 to 14% of the population in the U.S., and we are killed disproportionately at twice the rate of any other ethnic group in America, at the alarming percentage of 32 to 35%. Now, considering that we only make up 14% of the U.S. population to be, in my opinion, targeted and profiled, in this society, to the point to where we almost double that rate in killings, is not only an atrocity in our community, but it is something that this country should be ashamed of. The victims, mainly as far as age range, the average age of the Black men that are shot range between the ages of 20 and 40 years of age. So over half of the Black men shot in America are between that age. Why is that significant? I think one reason that is significant because that is the age of graduation, pretty much from high school, some graduating from college in between those ages as well. And then not only that, that is the age of the workforce group, where the workforce is most vibrant and the workforce is at its strongest and at its best. So we're talking about even our young men that are coming out of college, if they're being targeted by police officers, and if they are, being profiled and may not have the same opportunity to live a life of longevity as other ethnic groups, then that takes away from the gifts and the talents in our community. And I think that is, that's significant. That's significant because we talk about now there is, there are not Black professionals in the community like we saw 40, 50 years ago. In every community at one time, Black community, you had a doctor, you had a lawyer, you had a dentist. It was almost a common thing to have Black professionals, Black business owners that lived in the community. Now we don't see that. That's not as prevalent in our community. And one reason it's not as prevalent is because of some of the issues that we're having with, police brutality in America that are targeting Black men and women between those ages of professionalism, that I would say, as far as developing a career, starting a career, getting into a career, still finding out in some cases what they want to do as it relates to a career, graduating from college, things of that nature. So there are many different dynamics that actually factor into what we're discussing on tonight. So 2 to 5% are 16 years of age and below. So when we talk about, Black men being killed and women being killed by the police, 2 to 5% of those men and women are ranged between the age of 16 and under. And that is sad. Now, unfortunately, we're the only ethnic group, according to the New York Post, I'm going to say the New York Times, I'm sorry, the Washington Post, and statistics.com, we're the only ethnic group that in that age group can say that we experience police brutality in that particular age range. We've seen and heard multiple news stories about young children being arrested in elementary school, police getting in confrontation with young teenagers in the school system. So there again, this is not something that is that's a new thing. It is something that we need to definitely be discussing more. We know that the George Floyd bill is hopefully we'll get that pushed through, but we need to be advocating for that. You need to be calling your congressman, calling your senator. You need to be advocating for the George Floyd bill to be pushed through. So some of the things when we deal with police brutality, I think we have to look at it, Janice, from both spectrums. She's over there typing away. I guess she's trying to get somebody on, but you can come on and get back into conversations with me. So, so when we talk about police brutality, when we talk specifically about this situation that happened in Tennessee, there are certain things that I want to kind of highlight that I think we need to be addressed, that we need to address, that mainstream media hasn't really addressed, and I think it should be addressed. And one of those things that we know that all 5 officers that were highlighted, we know that there were more involved, but the main officers involved in this particular conflict were African American officers. So in saying that, we know that police brutality has no color when it comes to what color the police is or isn't, or what ethnic persuasion the police is or isn't. Because in the George Floyd situation, there were Asian cops as well as European, as well as Black. So we understand that because this is a systematic type of order, police, the fraternal order of police, is more of a fraternity, it's a brotherhood. So the only color is blue, quote unquote. Now, but here's one of the things that I thought that was disturbing. Okay, they are in a system, so they can only function in that system. In the system, as it relates to policing Black people, was designed to be one of terror, horror, and one that would impose fear on African American people. So that didn't surprise me that they were African Americans. That didn't come as a shock to me, so to speak.
Well, Brian, on this particular case with Tyre Nichols, that unit was developed about 2-3 years ago, specifically for for Memphis, Tennessee, and they targeted those areas, Black neighborhoods, Black frequent visiting spots. That group was set up, the Scorpion unit, to definitely target supposedly crime and high crime rate areas. So everybody's wondering if this neighborhood was such a quiet, all the residents said this neighborhood was a quiet, calm neighborhood. They had no violence, they had no issues in that neighborhood. Why were they even there?
Yeah, well, I mean, they said they did a traffic stop. Exactly what they stopped him for, at this point, I don't know. I don't know what the traffic stop involved, but that is the reason that supposedly the police stopped Brother Tyre Nichols. But like I said, I just, my thing is pointing out that these are 5 African Americans. Like I said, that didn't shock me. What I think disturbed me more than anything is that they did not see Tyree as themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They did not see Tyree as a fellow African American, a black man that is suffering from the same social injustices that every other black man in this country is suffering from.
Definitely.
Even them, when they take off their uniform and they're not identified as a police officer, if they get stopped on the street, they're not going to be treated any differently from a black man. So that showed me their inhumanity and not having love for self. Because if they truly loved themselves, they would have loved their brother enough to treat him in a decent manner as it relates to how they went about doing their job concerning the traffic stop, if there was an arrest that needed to be made, whatever the situation is, if they had a conscience and was aware of historically what the police department was set up and designed for, they would have stopped and thought about, this is my brother, and we are in no, different position. Even though we have a position of authority, when we take our badge and uniform off,
we're just like they are.
We're in the same situation.
Yeah. We look the same.
That he finds himself in right now. So there's something wrong when we don't consciously and we're not thinking about each other enough to realize that we're all in this together, and there is no rich or poor when other people in this society see you. There is no black police when you're not in uniform. You're just a black man. There's something, there's a disconnect.
Yes, it is.
Mentally, and from a standpoint of self-love, love of community, love of your people.
Do you think it could be some type of exhaustion of power? Those, sometimes police tend to feel that they're really, I hate to say this, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but they're a little bit of, they are the law.
Well, I think
they're enforcing the law.
They are the enforcers of the law. That is correct.
But
but they're not the law. They are the enforcers of the law. So this country, Brother Siraj said something really important earlier when me and him was having a discussion. He said this country was built off of laws, certain moral standards were interjected into those laws to make sure that society was developed in a sense the way that the founding fathers saw as far as the structure and the government, how they wanted it to be run, how they wanted everyone to be seen as it relates to the culture of this new country. So when you talk about, police officers, yes, they are enforcers of the law. They are not the law. I think that's why you get that term, leave that alone, strong arm of the law.
I can get it now. I got it now.
But anyway, that's actually what, when we talk about that, we have to look at police in a sense of not just being, someone with a badge that's running amok, and someone with a gun that literally, at will can do what they want to you without any recourse. there has to be a recourse when police officers do not do what they were hired for. And that is, in my opinion, they were hired to protect and to serve. In most cases, police officers respond to crime. They do not prevent crime. And I think that is, within itself, that's significant, because when we look at police, we expect police to prevent crime. That is not their job. Their job is to serve and protect and to enforce laws that are set in place by legislature via the state, city, county, federal government. So that's their job. But like I said, most times they are the responders to crime, not the preventers of crime. So we have to, I think, begin to see police in light of what is their specific purpose as it relates to the Black community. We got to deal with the historical part of that as well, because police units and departments and forces were created for the purpose of tracking down runaway slaves and enforcing, in southern states, enforcing slave codes. In some of your northern states, they were developed, like your Baltimore is the first known city with a police force developed in 1838. Then you had Philadelphia. You had some to follow suit in that. But anyway, the creation of those forces, the creations of those departments were for one reason, and they were for, like I said, in the southern states, capturing runaway slaves and then reinforcing the slave codes. So that consisted of making sure that slaves were continually marginalized. That consisted of making sure that the slaves lived in terror and in fear as it relates to even thinking about freedom. So also police forces were developed to deter slave revolts, because we know that in the early 1700s, there were numerous slave revolts that began to take place. Ironically, started up north first in the New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia area, and then matriculated down into some of your southern states, particularly in the Carolinas and what we know now as South Carolina. Also, the first slave codes that were developed that we know of that was enforced by a patrol unit was in South Carolina in 1704. Okay, so those are things that I think we have to start considering. Why was the police force developed? The police force was not developed to protect Black people. The police force was developed to do the exact opposite as it relates to African American people. So we have to understand that dynamic, as we deal with what we're seeing continuing to escalate each year in our community. Last year, in 2022, there were over 1,200 killings as far as police brutality and deaths by police. Over 500 of those 1,200 were Black men. There's something wrong. So we have to keep in mind the enforcement of law as it relates to being able to freely travel, being able to protect property. All of that was initially put in place for not black people, but for white people. So police departments ironically protected the property of its white citizens, protected white citizens that moved freely from state to state, city to city, county to county. Slaves could not travel without a decree from their slave master, or they had to be with their slave master.
Okay. Okay.
So we did not have the freedom to travel from city to city, county to county, so on and so forth. We did not own any property. So when we look at the development of what we call police force, police department, and when we look at initially how it was set up and why it was set up, it was not set up to be advantageous for black people. It was set up to be the exact opposite. It was set up to exact terror, fear, and horror onto black people.
Okay.
So now that brings us up to speed with what we're looking at develop and escalate year after year in our community with police brutality. Okay. And like I said, the uniform doesn't have a color. When you put it on, you put it on. The badge doesn't have a color. You are actually then, once you put that, when you put that uniform on, you are part of the system.
Brian,
and the system dictates.
Let me cut in for a minute. We see some people that we can bring on camera, and I see one of the young men, Gregory Williams and Reginald Barlow. If you guys want to come on, just give me a thumbs up or something. No, we can bring him on if he wants to come on. Okay.
Just add
if he wants to come on, because I'm sure he would have something to say.
Okay, that's it.
We're adding you, Reginald, my brother.
Okay,
we're adding you. He declined. Okay. What about Gregory? Did you want to come on?
No.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So
we'll just keep going.
We'll keep going.
All right. So, but anyway, that's, like I said, that's the history, and that kind of brings us up to speed, with what we're having to
I think somebody wants to come on.
With.
Greg wants to come on. He just gave a thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Gregory Williams. And? Okay. Okay, Greg, we just added you. If you want to come on.
Well, it's still added.
Yeah.
So it's taking its time.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, so that's basically, in a nutshell, that's where we are right now. I think, like I said, okay, Greg is joining.
Okay, Greg, are you joining? Did you have something to say?
Go ahead. I'm coming on soon. Go ahead. Listen to y'all. Y'all sound good.
Okay, brother
Did
Greg.
You have any
how
questions?
you doing?
Real good about this. I like what your friend just said. I always enjoy y'all guys coming on. Y'all is so information. You got a lot of people out here today is really scared to get put over.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what's going to happen to their sons. Especially sons. I'm serious. I mean, I got nephews, and yes, I'd be scared when they call me so I'm getting put over, because
yeah.
And I don't think I can tell them, just don't get scared, don't hear everything, just take your time, because we don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
And and so yes, I heard y'all say they for be out there to protect and to serve, but it had changed now. You scared to get put over.
Right.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Hey, brother, you hit the nail on the head, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if you've ever had a personal experience, but I've had a personal experience where I was pulled over and I was mistreated simply because I was a black man. No other reason. No, they didn't even give me a reason that they stopped me. So and it's a shame that we have to talk to our sons at 12, 13, 14 years old, even in the playground. If they out in the playground playing and they have toy guns, remember the incident we had with the young man that got shot? He had a toy gun and the police shot him, 11 years old, because he had a toy gun. So we got to even talk to our young boys and our nephews about being careful with playing with toys we could play with no problem.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and it's unfortunate, Bro Greg, and I think it's a sad commentary. We have to have those real life conversations, but man, I'm gonna tell you the mental trauma that our young men are having to experience right now because of being in fear, and not only our young men, but our older men. You know, we live with the same trauma when it comes to now having to deal with watching our back because we don't know what the police gonna do if we get pulled over.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you know, some of the news media, they were trying to make this thing like Tyree got out of the car and ran. But what are you supposed to do? You ask the police, why are you pulling me over 4 or 5 times, and they can't tell you why they pull you over, or if they start lying about why they pull you over, I'm probably gonna run too.
Right.
You know, to try to save my life because I don't know what's gonna happen next. You know, I'd rather take a chance of trying to get away, running, you know, in a zigzag pattern, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're exactly right, brother.
Okay.
But we appreciate you joining us, man.
We appreciate you joining us, Greg.
Hey, it was good, man. I enjoyed y'all, sir. Keep tagging me in, Jan. You know, she's my schoolmate and I'm a classmate friend, so keep tagging me in. It's been really good, and y'all go ahead and enjoy y'all. No, I'm gonna be still listening, but
okay. Thank you.
We appreciate you hopping on with us.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
He has to
Right.
okay.
So,
all right.
Good deal. Siraj is watching. Bring them on camera. Let's see if we get Siraj.
Yes.
All right, well, I guess there's always more than one way to skin a cat. Y'all don't laugh at us, I tell you, boy. You know, I'm going to get me a producer. If there's anybody out there that want to produce this show, please get in touch with me.
Hey.
Brother Siraj. What's going on, man?
Hey, I've been waiting very, very anticipatory for this tap.
Well, brother, forgive me. I am Facebook illiterate. I don't do Facebook, you know?
I'm glad it worked, but good afternoon or good night to both of you all, and I definitely appreciate the heads up and the invitation. I don't know what I could necessarily contribute other than my opinion, so that's the cheapest commodity in the world, but we'll go from there.
Well, hey, we value your opinion, brother. So did you hear what I've shared so far, brother?
Yes, I have, and you know, let me just preface some of my history with law enforcement as a general intro to this.
Okay.
I have a history as a citizen of participating in trying to reach our young men in particular. So I volunteered as a citizen with the Dallas County Jail, which is me and Janice's hometown. I volunteered with Montgomery County Detention Facility. Would go in and talk to the young men. I've also done that on the state level where I went in and talked to the inmates at Kilby, the state correctional facility. So that's one angle I'm looking at in terms of, you know, there has to be a level of engagement of law enforcement. And I don't necessarily subscribe to, you know, the I would say the idea that all police officers, all law enforcement is bad.
Right.
And here's the litmus test to this. Now, just follow me for a second. If the first let's say something happens at your home, what is the first number you're gonna dial? That you need law enforcement.
911. Yeah.
Okay, so even the most hardened criminal, even the ones in the traffic, they call it law enforcement. So let's not play. You know, it has its purpose, it has its role, and we have to be conscious and aware not to necessarily malign the character of law enforcement with those bad apples that we saw in that Tyree Nichols case, or for that matter, the Trayvon Martin case, where he would have turned 28 today. And so, you know, and you could go on and on and on. I mean, the thing that I find interesting is that you have to ask yourself a question. Did these incidents just start in the last 5 years? Or has this been going on, the over-policing, the unfair treatment of minorities, police brutality, in some cases ending in death or violence, or ending in just mistreatment? No, it's been going on a long time. I mean, we can go all the way back to Bull Connor. We can go all the way back to Selma and us getting beat coming across the bridge and in a peaceful protest. And so those things are in our history. And I think it gives us an opportunity to make a very, very, very strategic plan. Instead of reactionary, we need to be engaging with law enforcement in a way that brings about a positive and a constructive conclusion, because we got some bad actors out there.
Yes, we do.
You know, if I tell you, when I read something recently, back to our hometown, Janice, it says that Selma is the 5th dangerous place in the state of Alabama. These are DOJ statistics. Now, this is when we come out of our emotional bag and we look at the raw facts and data. And this is how they put this information together, based on violent crime. They're based on robberies and so on and so. They use metrics to determine this. So let's assume that we're in Montgomery and I'm on Ann Street. So if you ever been on Ann Street, you know that feeling, right? Now, let's say I go out to East Chase. I'm not trying to lie to Ann Street. I'm just giving you the real is real. If they do the metrics on Ann Street versus Chantilly Parkway, which one you think is more safer in terms of those identifiable metrics that they use to gauge whether or not this is a safer place or safe place or whatever? So my point is, how do we curb the violence? How do we curb the crime in these communities? And I think it has to be somewhere we don't turn a blind eye to what we know is wrong and what's going on in our communities. We can do our part. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm jumping out of what necessarily the vein that you was talking about. I did want to express that we have to engage law enforcement in a positive way, but at the same time, we can all have opinions, but we can't have the same facts.
Well,
so
go ahead.
Brother.
I was going to ask you, so I heard you say that you're not one that is quite on board with the defund the police.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I don't believe in that. But let me say 2 things about that idea. First of all, I don't know enough, and I understand the media. Okay, when you want to grow something, they use that same term when in science. I'm a science man, so if I want to grow something as an idea, I put it in media. This is scientific. They want to grow it on a petri dish, right? They call that media. So the idea that they put out there, just like if they say, if I use the term Black Lives Matter, what comes to your mind? What are you thinking? So if I say defund the police, okay, well, let's peel back the layers. What are you saying? You're saying that we don't need to have more patrols in an area that's crime ridden, that grandma can't sit on the front porch, children can't walk in peace, they can't have an expression in their neighborhood. That's my air fryer going off. But they can't live in peace And so, no, I'm not in a general idea now. That's why I said we should look at that. But if you want me to buy that as an idea, no, I can't necessarily say that. What I can say is, do we buy into an idea that goes to the point of over-policing an area and then indiscriminately harassing minorities or harassing anybody just by their zip code? No, I can't go with that either. So we have to be careful, because there's forces outside of us that are trying to position us in a way that they could easily malign you and what your real legitimate concerns are. You know, we have to distinguish, okay, we're not against law enforcement. What we are is against some crooked individuals that wear a badge or wear a shield, and we want those people out of here. Yesterday, a month ago, we want them out of here. Now, if you're not going to be responsible, then we have to put some kind of safeguards to our legislative process, which is a county level, a state level, and a federal level. And all those levels should be pursued by the citizens to make sure that the people who are discharged with oversight in the correct implementation of those policies are doing their job. And so, no, I can't necessarily say I'm for defund the police. I mean, I think what needs to happen is they definitely need to have training. And then let's identify the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The 800-pound gorilla in the room is that you are not being, first of all, conscious, whether it's something you was brought up with as a little boy or you learned as a teenager, but you have biases. We all have biases, for that matter. But if you let those biases overreach and get into your operation and your function as an officer of the law, then you are wrong. And so we have to have consistent policies to train law enforcement, and especially when it comes to the most, I would say, marginalized, victimized group, which is people of color, if you want to call them that. But African Americans, Black people have a historic relationship with law enforcement that in some cases, whether it was way back when we thought we was over there with Rodney King. You remember Rodney King back in the 80s? Yeah. Early 90s, brother? And
91.
Here we dealing with that decades later. So we still dealing with the same situation, but did it get better? Did it get worse? Are we ebbing and flowing? And can we just chart a course where we and I'll tell you one thing, I know I'm getting long-winded, but I'll tell you one thing I think would help the situation. I have a son, he's in the Coast Guard. I know y'all see him sometimes. And he's in a degree of law enforcement. I mean, they do that's their job, to patrol the coast. And so, but I ask him all the time, I said, well, would you mind considering going into law enforcement when you get out? And right away, he said, nah, Daddy, that ain't me. But what if we, you know, when I was growing up, and Brian, you probably remember this too. When we grew up, you say you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a police officer. That was an option. Am I wrong?
You're right.
So if it was an option, and if we villainize that as a field, then the good people who can go in and make a change or make a difference might not be inclined to do so. So we need better people going into law enforcement, and those who have a sensitivity for the people they're serving. You know, one thing that Tyree Nichols thing, real quickly, showed me is that those were 5 Black officers. And I was in this is crazy now. I was in a conversation with a Caucasian female, and she was more adamant about it than I was. I was like, well, you know, let me give you a personal story about Memphis. First of all, I said, if you don't know, Memphis is a very dangerous place. And I lived in Memphis. It's a very dangerous place. I almost lost my life in Memphis. Let's just say my family are some professional criminals. Some real criminals back in the day. Now I was a little bitty boy, but they was legit. They was legit criminals. And so I was involved in an armed robbery, and me and my brother, we had pistols pointed to our head in Memphis. We was little kids. This true story. I almost lost my life in Memphis because of how dangerous of a place it can be. Now, those officers that did that, they were all black.
Yeah.
So I sure want to hear your take on that. I mean, I'm gonna quit talking, but I had to get that little piece off. But I think the core issue about that case is that there was a really a denial of his humanity. That's what we got to get back to. It is a matter of black and white, but I'm not trying to marginalize that. But I'm also saying we could be mistreated by our own people, and we have to acknowledge that too.
Yes.
Go ahead, Brian. I'm gonna sit back and listen,
I'm gonna touch on 2 points. One is the defund the police point. The defund the police. I'm a proponent of we need to take measures to look at funding as it relates to appropriating it to things that will work in our community, like creating businesses, putting resources in the community that deter crime, putting activity centers back in communities, putting community centers back in communities. Those things deter our children from gravitating toward crime. And if we have to take resources and reallocate them as it relates to structuring law enforcement, I think we should do that. Now, I'm not against abolishing police like some people are, but I'm definitely for the reallocation of funding to police to go to other resources.
That's a
that could
very
help.
good, that's a very good point that you're making, and I think you're making that distinction, and that's where when you just say if you notice the way I answered that question was when you just say defund the police, that's kind of there's no follow up. But what do you mean?
Right.
Like, let's say in the police budget, and I don't want to cut you off, but in the police budget you got $60,000 discretionary for. Well, I can buy, let's say 5 F-150s or whatever. I'm just using something. We're going to buy some material. But what you're saying, take those funds and let's put them in somewhere where the citizens can engage with the real human resources, which are our officers, our learning opportunities, and things like that. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. Absolutely. Look at this. If you reallocate funding and put a community center in high crime areas, what they're calling high crime areas, and you put a activity officer, you don't call him a police officer, you call him an activity officer, where he engages with the children, where you have volunteers to come in that center, work with that activity officer. You teach them about law, you teach them about law enforcement. It now reshapes a whole different dynamic on how our children now are seeing the police.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, and that activity officer could have on full uniform but no weapon.
Well, you know, they call those, they put them in schools, and they call them resource officers.
Yeah,
you see
they
what
call
I'm
them
saying?
resource officers.
Yeah, same concept, but a different mission.
Different mission, that's right. So I'm for the reallocation of funding. Now, let me go to your other point, as it relates to the 5 African-American police officers.
Yeah,
I think with them being African-American, you make my point. Then that point is that a badge doesn't have a color.
Yes.
They are part of the system. So when you're in a system that is broken and that was set up and designed to exact terror on African Americans, it doesn't matter what color
you are.
The person is in the uniform.
Exactly.
See, they're doing what the system was designed and created to do as it relates to Black people. And that was the exact terror, horror, to instill fear, to put all of those. Thank you, brother.
Hey, I can see myself, but my wife just told me you need to turn that. But you know, that's why you need
thank God for the wife, brother.
Thank you, Shakira.
but when you look at that, Brother Sherrod, that's what we're looking at, man. We're looking at a system that is broken. And the system has got to be revamped, not only at the federal level, but the system has got to be revamped from the local level up. You know, it's got to start at the local level.
Well, I think what you're saying in the sense that, yeah, they were 5 African Americans, but it's a picture in the judicial system that you have the lady with the blindfold on, right? When you go in there, she's supposed to not look, right?
Yeah,
so
Lady
they're
Justice.
supposed to not look and see. But let's be honest, every now and then there's somebody might take a look peek when they're adjudicating a situation. Whether it's putting the cuffs on you or you get in front of the judge. And we have suffered in terms of our judicial treatment, the judicial system, which only the lockup is only part of it. You know, you got to go all the way to the end of it and then come back out. Even if you break the law. See, this is what I see as part of the problem about those 5 African Americans. They broke the law. They didn't break a white law or a black law. They broke the law. Now, the question is, systemically, was that law designed to treat that African American person wrong? For the most part, let's just give me this. Let's just judge on a scale of 1 to 10. You say, I would say 8 out of 10. No, 8 out of 10. Let's give it 20%. The law itself said they supposed to follow protocol and procedures, and none of that was done.
That's right.
It's the sensitivity level and the lack of training, and also the lack of responsibility to say, hey, look, you as an officer, white or black, you have authority, and don't misuse that authority. That's what a mistake was made. And a white officer can make that mistake. A black officer can make that mistake. And yes, historically, we have had injustices within the systemic system. And I think it needs to be people who are vigilant, who are no law enforcement. I'm not a law enforcement officer, but know and look at that. Okay, so this right here, that's, you know, you redline in this community and they're going to have more patrols over here. One thing that sticks out to me about the whole judicial system, and even in the state of Alabama, but for the nationwide, African Americans make up, I would say, you probably know better than me, Brian, maybe 15, 20% of the population, and that's shrinking. And actually, the Latino population is getting larger than ours. It now has already surpassed African Americans, right? So if that's the case, if we 15, 20% of the total population, how is it a so disproportionate amount of African Americans in prisons? You mean to tell me? Now, this is that systemic part. I agree with you. It can't be that we the worst people on the planet. Come on, man.
Well, see, here we go. All right, we make up 13, 14% of the population.
Wow.
Disproportionately, last year in 2022, 35% of the murders by police were on African American men. We're only 13, 14% of the population. 35% of police brutality and killings were against African Americans, which doubles any other ethnic group in the United States. Now, let's go back to this. And this is an interesting conversation, but I want to go back to the whole concept around the police, these 5 young African American men. I still say, you know, when you look at the system, you talking about Lady Justice being in blind justice. When you look at African Americans, justice is definitely blind when it comes to us. Nobody sees us. We're continually marginalized. We're continually dehumanized. We're continually pushed to the side and forgotten about. So justice is really, truly blind when it comes to not seeing that we are part of this society. When it comes to us not being counted as citizens still in this United States. So let's go back here, Brother Sherrod. So and you got me on a kick now with history. Let's go back and really truly take an examination of why the Second Amendment was created to be able to carry guns. It was not carry, it was to actually stop slave revolts. The Second Amendment was created because of slave revolts. Now, regardless of whatever you read, and we talking about, we wanted to have guns to defend the patriots to defend themselves. No, the Second Amendment was put in place because those slaves were rising up. Okay?
Well, those who make themselves proponent of that Second Amendment, maybe they know that history. I didn't know. You teaching me something. I didn't know that.
Absolutely. That's why it was literally put in place. So we have to deal with it from every level. We have to deal with it from the gun level. We have to deal with it from a justice standpoint because the system is broken, because we were not considered to be part of the system. So I talked about that a little bit earlier. Black people were not citizens. Therefore, when police departments were created, they were created to protect the free movement of citizens and to protect the property of citizens. Blacks were neither citizens nor did they have free movement.
Look, one thing we all can have is opinions, but we can't have the same fact. So that's what you're saying is definitely a fact. I mean, I was not aware of that, but however, I would just add this. And it's not a rebuttal of anything you said.
Right.
I'm just saying we have to make sure that if we want to really change something, we just don't take out a machine gun to hit a gnat. Now, I'm not saying police brutality is not a gnat, but I'm saying let's go at really what the situation is. And I think it's people who have knowledge and information much better than me in terms of being law enforcement officers. They know the policies. They know what the law is. You know how many, just use just the legal side of it in terms of, let's say you got a defense lawyer, or you just got a lawyer, period, for whatever case. We have more black lawyers than we've ever had. But where the ones who are advocating, like Mr. Gray, the guy, Attorney Gray out of Tuskegee. I don't know him personally, but he represented,
Brother Fred
civil rights lawyers. Only person keep popping up is the guy Ben, what's his name? Ben Crump?
Yeah, Benjamin Crump, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you mean tell me that's the only civil rights lawyer that's really on the case? That's really can dissect those things, say, hey, look, line by line, we need to deal with this, or we need to improve on this situation, that situation, this situation. And I guess that comes with citizen involvement, because we can get our representative. I don't even see, I'm gonna give you something else to think about. We have representation on every level, whether it's city, state, county, federal, every level we represent it now. And some of those representatives look just like me and you. But I guarantee you, the majority that I see around here, just be honest, police brutality ain't on their list of things to bring forward as an agenda item, whether it's the state house, the city government level, or county level. I agree. These people are looking like me and you. They come from the same circumstance 9 times out of 10 that we come from, but they're not advocating on our behalf to really systemically look at this and how to make it strategically and systematically better. And so that's what I think we should be really focusing on, getting the right representation to really zero in on these issues.
And I agree. I think it's up to the people to organize and to put forth an agenda that would actually deal with the whole injustice as it relates to police officers and policing. So that's where the citizen have to get involved. We have to organize. Right. You know what I'm saying? If the citizen don't organize, because see, what we have forgotten is that they work for us. You pay their salary.
Exactly.
Okay. So until we organize to actually be involved and make our voice heard, you're not going to see legislation. You're not going to see legislation at the state level come forth or at the city level come forth to deal with creating a citizens review board, creating some type of program that actually reallocates funding in police departments. The mayor can get involved, city council can get involved, but it's the citizen that have to organize and demand change.
Yeah.
You know, so if we don't do that, brother, that's on us.
That's what I'm trying to point out is that we have, this is not on the front burner of the people that we are putting forward to represent us. So if there's a systemic problem and we have the tools to address it or even bring it forward, it's not being done so. And how many more Tyree Nichols that we got to see? Well, we got to really put our mind on this and then go directly at the issue. Because as a punitive measure, you shouldn't be getting funded for discretionary funds now. Funded for things when you are not providing the service that you are being held accountable for. And if that's some kind of way to get their attention, maybe that's something we need to bring forward. So, you know, those things I see that we need to work on.
Okay. Well, brother, we thank you, man.
Hey,
I'm glad you got on. I was carrying the boat by myself, bro.
Hey, look, don't forget about my request now.
I
told you. All right, y'all have a good night, man.
All right, y'all do the same. Give a life our love, man.
All right, brother.
All right. Okay. Hey, so good job, guys. We are enjoying the show.
Yeah, got another one to bring on.
We got one more to bring on.
Our son.
Okay, yes. Well, he's out eating dinner.
Well, he's back home now.
Oh, is he back home? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's see
if he's going to. We're adding Robert Martin.
So good conversation.
Yes. Awesome.
And I want to thank Brother Siraj. He brought a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
Made some very good points. Some things that we need to think about overall.
Awesome.
As it relates to police brutality.
And another thing, Brian, I see Vernetta Judge Perkins is watching.
Okay.
So I would love to bring her on as well. Can you give me a like or thumbs up, Vernetta Judge Perkins, if you're watching?
Yeah.
We would love to have you on.
Okay. Let's see if Trey is
still trying to add Trey.
Okay, he may not be able to get on. So, Trey, if you're watching, you may not be able to get on. It's saying adding, so
and it's still...
yeah, no answer from the live video guest. Okay.
Oh.
All right, so don't worry about it.
Let's see Judge Perkins, if she's trying to...
Well, she's watching, so let's go back.
Let's see if she...
Couldn't add the guest. Person was unable to join because of technical issues. Okay. That was Trey. That was Trey. You just canceled that.
Okay. But, he says he's trying to come on. He's been trying.
Okay. Well, he's having technical issues. That's what it showed. But anyway, the show must go on.
Yeah. We got some viewers, so we got viewers still.
So, but anyway, good conversation again with Brother Siraj. And I appreciate his dialogue and his analysis of the justice system and what we must do as a Black people. We have to organize and we have to be conscious.
Absolutely, Brian.
Aware of what's happening. Because like you said, if we don't, next week there's going to be another Tyree Nichols.
Yes. But there was a great point that I heard today that I thought was very interesting. We don't have a problem with the police. They have a problem with the type of people that are coming into the police force. And you got some bad people. There's some bad people out there, and they're coming on because a lot of people are saying I don't want to get involved. That's not a career I want to do anymore. It's not like it used to be. So they're choosing to go another route and not get into police.
Well, I think you have to, there again, that's when you have history is crucial. See, because when you look at police departments were made up of poor white settlers from Europe that came over to this country that did not have an education, were very uncivil type of, because when they came over from Europe, they were known as paupers.
Yes.
Okay, they were known as vagabonds.
Yes.
That's where we get those terminologies from.
Vagabonds.
Okay, even in the early 14th, 15th century, they were known as thuggish. So we even in the word thug and all of that terminology all relates back to the white settlers that came over here that made up your first police departments and police forces.
Okay.
So even with the police back in the 17th century, 16th century, in the early 1700s, the first police officers were those men that were outcast from Europe, that were no more than the poorest of the poor, the outcast of the city, the paupers, the vagabonds, like I said. That's who made up the police department. That is also who made up the overseer for the master that controlled the plantation on behalf of the master. That's what they were employed to do. So I think we have to go back to the history. When we talk about people not wanting to join the police force, there again, it is a system. It's not that people don't want to join the police force. They don't want to be involved in a system that says, this is how you have to treat one another. Or this is how you treat citizens or people that are not considered to be citizens, or that have never considered to be citizens. So when you get into that, I think there's going to be discouragement automatically. And even though these young guys, they may not know the history in detail like that, but still there's something to them innate that says something's not right about this system.
Yeah, definitely.
What say, son?
Hey, son.
You finally made it, huh?
Oh yeah. Anniversary is here, so I had to take the lovely missus out and celebrate that. So we are back, we are home, so I am here.
Awesome.
Yes. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you. Where's the missus at?
Thank you. Right here. Come on over, love. And she want to be camera shy now. Looking as pretty as she does today. Come on, girl. Come on.
Now you know Missy ain't camera shy. Oh my goodness. Awesome. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, beautiful. Beautiful.
How y'all doing?
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Just getting back.
Yeah, when you all had a good dinner?
We did.
Yeah, had a great dinner. I got to show you, after this, I got to show you that gift.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, you've heard some of a gist of what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
What's your take on some of what we've been talking about, Trey?
Well, for me and my perspective on it, I would love for more young African Americans to join police forces all across the country, pretty much to kind of police their own neighborhoods. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, because I don't feel like that's the complete answer to it. I think it would kind of decrease some of these, police brutality cases. But as you can see, like the one we just had in Memphis, that was a group of young Black police officers beating on a young Black man. So, it's something much deeper, and just joining the force is only one aspect of it. So I don't know if there's some additional training. And, so you were talking about the system, and all of that training is in that system. So they're training you to be a part of that system. So the system itself needs to be restructured or broken
Absolutely.
completely and rebuilt. And I think policing shouldn't be a uniform blanketed thing. I think policing should be something based off of your demographics and your neighborhood and what's going on in your area. I've seen many people say, well, you'll get a young white man that grew up in the suburbs policing inner cities, and he comes in not knowing the culture. He comes in not knowing that black people in general, sometimes when we are communicating with one another, the things that we say, it may seem very aggressive to you, but
Right.
that's just how we talk. That's
That's
how we
how we
communicate.
verbalize.
That's our
Absolutely.
dialect. The one case I'd never forget is when a black man, I believe he was in Home Depot or Lowe's, and he said something about, I'm about to go in here and I'm about to blow this place up. He was referring to himself going and using the bathroom, because when they called the police and they drew all these guns on him, that's exactly what he was doing. He was doing nothing more than using the bathroom. His stomach was hurting him. Some old white lady overheard him say he's about to blow it up, and her not understanding what that means, he's going to the bathroom. His stomach hurts.
Yeah.
So very simple things can be de-escalated by simply knowing the people that you're policing.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy. I don't even understand what that situation was. When I talk about the Memphis situation, I really I can't understand why those men would treat that man the way they did. Knowing our struggles, knowing all of the cases that we've seen
Yeah.
time and time again with our people, and yet you all now own the force where you were, and you do the same thing that you see the white guys do to our people. So I mean, this man, he ran. He didn't have a
Yeah.
gun. The only thing he put y'all through was a little bit of physical frustration, by making y'all have to run after him. That's
Right.
it. There was no
Right.
other threat that he posed. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't try to hurt or kill, fight anybody. He was just simply running away.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I think that's where, like you said, Trey, there's got to be a system put in place to vet police officers. Psychologically, there needs to be a better process as it relates to determining who is psychologically able to actually deal with our people, be it black or white. So, and without that clinical diagnosis there, then you don't know what you get.
You don't.
Because, like I said, the history of police, people that are joining the police, they join with vendettas.
Mm-hmm.
They join for a purpose.
Yes.
They're the ones that feel like I got something to prove, or I want to be a part of a system where I can exact my power onto other people.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So there's a problem with that, be it black or white, for that matter. That's why I say we've got to go back to looking at how do we revamp the system to where it works for all people. Because right now it was not created, nor was it designed to work for black people. So regardless of who wears the uniform, like I said, they can only function based on what the system teaches them. If the system, give you an example, probable cause. If you stop for probable cause as a black man in Georgia, okay, they pull you over and they say, look like you were swerving. That's probable cause. All right, let's take it a step further. You get out and they do the alcohol test to see if you make you walk the line or search your cause. Probable cause says that they can do all of those things. Now, if they tell you to put your hands on the car and you don't, there's another law says that you're refusing to obey commands. Okay. Now they can use force to get you to obey the command. Now each step escalates. Okay. So what they're doing is following the system. They're training and what they've been taught as it relates to how to handle a person that's been stopped, be it a traffic offense, be it an incident that's involving a crime, be it theft, burglary, robbery, how they actually proceed with handling each person is what we need to take a closer look at. So if they handle someone that ran a stop sign the same way that they handle someone that committed a murder, there's something drastically wrong. So we have to differentiate between those things. And unfortunately, most police forces are not taught that. And then if you're hiring people that are unintelligent and that are, the only thing they care about is being able to tote a gun and shoot a gun, but they cannot add 1 + 1 together. There's a problem. There's an issue. So there needs to be, there's got to be a better process of vetting and a way to attract applicants, that would make good police officers in our community. Because like Brother Siraj said, and like you said, you can have 5 black police officers like we saw that are the scum of the earth, and they mean their people no good.
No good. Yeah.
You hit on something very important. They did not see the humanity of that young man. That young man did not try to fight back. He never disrespected them. There was no reason that they should have did what they did as far as the brutal beating that they gave him. That was personal then. It was a personal, almost like a personal vendetta against this young man.
I saw the video. They walked straight up to him when one officer walked up at the last minute. And this man already had his hands behind his back, and they had already, had him on his feet. He was fully subdued. And random officer just walked up for no reason, just punched that brother in his face. What's your reason? What's your purpose? So
no reason at all.
It's so many issues around that policing system. And so when you say things as far as, okay, let's defund the police, you'll have lefties saying let's defund. You'll have righties over here saying, oh, you're talking about getting rid of the police altogether, and it's not that. I think policing needs to be demilitarized, because police departments are allowed to purchase military equipment, military grade weapons, military equipment, the military vehicles that are no longer used by our government. Everything that our government no longer uses, they sell it straight to our police departments. America is the country where they say, no, we will not use our military against our own people. Well, you already have. It is called your police force.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So the first militia was the police force. So when you go back to history, there again, history comes into play. For the first militia was those slave catchers that were deputized. Okay, so you're exactly right. The police force is a pseudo military on a city or county level. That's all it is. So now let's go back to what you were talking about, defunding the police. And I explained what I was saying to Siraj. I'm in support of defunding the police. When I say defund the police, it doesn't mean to abolish the police. Defund means to take the funding that can be reallocated and put into our community to deter crime by putting activity centers there, by creating jobs, okay, by putting programs in place to educate our children apart from the school, after school programs that are free.
Free, yeah.
History programs to teach our children about who they are. That is what I mean when I say defund. Defund simply means a reallocation of funding.
Exactly.
So that we can add to the curtailing of crime in our community and the minimization of crime in our community. Now, you're not going to stop crime. We have to be realistic. Crime is in every community. It's even in the white suburbs. They just do not advertise it as far as the media. You're not going to stop crime, but if we can minimize it to where the majority of our community comes out of the project, comes out of the ghetto, having the same chances to survive at life as every other child, we've done a good job.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to a place to where our men are looked upon as human beings and citizens of this society, and not marginalized, not dehumanized, not looked upon as inferior. And Black culture, unfortunately, we've painted our culture in the wrong light.
Yes.
So when we go back to, when you look at the hip hop generation, when you go back to, you look at the weed, all of these things, okay, how we act, our attitude of our children, attitude of our people, we got to take a strong look at ourselves and say that this culture that's being pseudo-created for us to be involved in and call it Black is not what's representative of Black folks.
No, it's not.
It's not a good representation of Black folks. You know, women running around with their butt out, men, you know, smoking weed on every corner, toting a AR-15, AK-47, whatever it is, in these rap videos. We gotta stop promoting a culture of violence and a culture that says to the police, that's an end. It's okay to treat him any kind of way because that's just who they is. They violent anyway. You know, what it says to the police when they see the depictions, and see a picture is worth 1,000 words. When they see that, then it says one thing to them. This is how these people are. And they lump everybody into the same category.
Yes, they do.
And when they do that, it doesn't matter how educated we are, doesn't matter what area you live in. When they see Brian Watts or they see Trey Martin, guess what? They see a Black man that's a thug. That's what they see, because that is the depiction. That is the culture that have been painted falsely about who we are as Black men. So when we talk about police, we have to look at every angle. We have to look at our contribution, even though nobody asked to be beat like that. What is our culture contributing to the outlook of how law enforcement see Black people? Now, nobody's talking about that in the media. Are we displayed favorably? I'm a human being. So regardless of what the culture, what you think about our culture, I'm still a human being. So we police officers need to be taught how to react to a human being.
Yes.
Not the culture of the human being. Okay? So there's a lot of different dynamics, bro, Trey, that we got to deal with, man. And you know, we're going to have to continue to have this conversation, though, because it's a good conversation.
We'll have this conversation time and time again, round and round. But until people decide that they want the same thing for themselves as a whole, collectively, that's pretty much what we're going to have is these conversations.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you continue to still pour into the same stigmas and pour into the same toxic culture and that you have created, through your music, behaviors, attitudes, whatever it may be, until we change all of it. So it's going to have to start in individual homes.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
it.
That's
It's
part
got
of
to
it.
start in each individual home.
That's part of it.
So and in my home, it's a lot of foolishness that my wife and I we don't tolerate. You know,
Absolutely.
that's just the way it is. And until everybody gets to that point to where they started in their own home, and then when they go out, that's who you are, then
Exactly.
it's seen that way. So,
Yeah.
when
Your
you
chances of
see,
survival
yeah,
when you act civil
yeah,
are much greater. Okay.
yeah, so when you're running around and for some odd reason, these boys think it's cool nowadays. I guess COVID brought it up, to where you can just walk around with these ski masks, and the only
Mhm.
thing I can see is your eyes. Okay. And, you think you're okay. Why you think that's okay to just walk around then? I don't know. You could be a normal, straight up guy, but you're perceived as a threat, and you put that mark
Absolutely.
Yes.
on yourself. You
Yes.
know, I didn't put it on, you put it on. So
Hmm.
when, police see you and they want to talk to you, you brought that on yourself when you put it on. It's as simple as taking that goofy crap off your face and
Hmm.
just being a part of a regular citizen in civilization. Just be you without the extra, without bringing all the extra attention to yourself. Because as soon as somebody step to you and say something to you about it, now you got an attitude. Now you want to yell. You want to curse. And when the police officer reaches for you to calm down, you want to snatch away. And like you said, those are all escalations.
Yeah.
So he's
Absolutely.
got you to the point of where he can verbally say, okay, you're resisting. It's on
Yeah.
his body cam. When you snatched
Yes.
away, you're resisting.
Yeah.
Everybody saw that. Why did he approach you? Because you looked suspicious. No one
Hmm.
should be walking around in the grocery store with a ski mask on.
Oh
You
gosh.
know, so no one should be
So
going into a
here,
gas
so
station with a ski mask on. You make
right,
people feel
but
uncomfortable.
but see, here is Trey, and I want you to critically think about this. Here's the flip side. Okay, a white person just got through hunting, coming out of the woods at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the morning, can walk in a grocery store and have a camouflage ski mask on and never remove it, and the police do not feel threatened, nor do they see that white person as a threat.
Mm.
See, this is about equality. It's about humanity. So if my brother goes in there in the morning with his ski mask on, the police feel threatened, but a white man can walk in there with a ski mask on and he doesn't feel threatened. There's something wrong with that. You understand
True.
what I'm saying? Okay,
True.
so no, so what I'm saying is the police need to treat my brother the same way that he treat the white man with a ski mask on that he's not doesn't feel threatened by, don't say anything to, don't ask him to do anything. Why can't you treat my young brother like that? See, what we have to do is take away the color factor altogether. That's why we can say it's race bias. Because if you walked in there with a ski mask on after you just got through hunting with a white friend, guess who they're going to see as a threat? You and him just got through hunting together, your best friend white. And they won't say a word to the white man walking with you that's got the ski. They're going to come and target you. Is that right? No. It's about being treated like a human being. There should not be any partiality when it comes to law enforcement if justice is truly blind. See, like I said, justice is blind. It's blind because it don't see us. You understand? So those are the conversations, and when we organize, we have to be making those type of arguments. Why is it that white folks can walk around with a full face mask on, with a pistol on their side in Walmart? I got a ski mask on, at least you can see my eyes. I don't have a pistol, but you don't do anything to the, so
But at this point,
that has to be addressed.
This point, their stance is changing. Well, the way we view them is changing as well. Because they sick. They sick. If I see you walking around in Walmart with a ski mask on and don't look like you've been hunting, come on, baby, it's time to go. Whatever it is, it can stay right there. Because all they doing now, our crimes typically are towards us. It's personal. We know. And if it does get an innocent bystander, it's because you got a 50-round drum, you have no aim, and you hit an innocent bystander. Them, they wake up in the morning, it's a bad mood that they might be in. Somebody picked on me, and now everybody that you come across in the grocery store, now that day has to die because of it. So, either way it goes now. So the policing should start with anybody with it on should be a target at this point.
Absolutely.
Society as a whole is breaking, and people do not understand that. You're seeing stories on the news daily that you would never have seen before in the past. There were not this type of mass killings, mass shootings. It's every single day that you see these things on the television. Suicides at an all-time high. Homes are breaking. Marriages are breaking. Kids, and their so-called identity crisis. People don't know what they want to be, who they want to be, and they walking around saying my pronoun is them. Well, look at here, buddy. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. So if you're wearing a dress that day, I don't care. You're a young man, and that's how I'm going to address you. I'm gonna address a woman as ma'am. That's just what it is. And they say, well, my parts don't define who I am. Well, if that don't define who you are, then what does? What were you born as?
And that's a conversation. That's a conversation for, and that's another show.
Exactly. So as a whole, society is sick. It's breaking down. And it's getting to the point to where people are talking about different wars. You have people, always talking about getting ready for the race war, or getting ready for the war against the government, or getting ready for the war against the Chinese, or getting ready for this war against this. What war are you talking about? If you play your part and I play my part, just to make society just go along as it's supposed to normally, there won't be a need for these type of conversations.
Right.
There's no need for one man to be stockpiling thousands of guns and tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition. You're one man.
Yeah. And I think,
what are you going to do?
Just to, to bring it back home, and we're going to get ready to wrap up. But, that's where in society, there are systemic malfunctions all through society. There really are. And we have to, as Black people, we can't let our guard down when it comes to trying to make it better. If you have to, demolish the system, then we have to be proponents of making sure it gets demolished, because those that are going to be affected are going to be our children's, grandchildren. Yes. You see what I'm saying? Our children's children and their children's children. Those are the ones that are going to feel the brunt of this, because if we don't demolish this system, it is going to inherently get worse.
Yes.
Because of the nature by which it was created. So we have to, and those, like I said, those are things that we have to look at, and we have to become more proactive as a Black people. to make sure that we organize for the right thing concerning who we are, because we're only 13, 14%. We are the only population in the U.S. that have not grown in the last 30 to 50 years. We have remained at 13 to 14% for 50 plus years. We're the only group. Everybody else is outgrowing African Americans in this country. So if we don't do something, we are going to become a group that is extinct. And so we have to make a stand and begin to push together in the right direction, you know? But Trey, we're gonna end with that. We thank you for jumping on, brother. we gonna get ready to call it a night. But happy anniversary
thank y'all
to
for
you
having
again,
me
son.
on. Thank y'all for allowing me to be here.
You are welcome. Happy anniversary to you and your lovely wife again. And wish you all a great evening continued.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. We'll see y'all.
All right. See y'all later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, Facebook, YouTube family, we're going to get ready to sign off.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for joining. We do again apologize for the technical difficulty, but it worked out.
It did.
Thank Brother Greg for joining us and sharing his comments.
Gregory
and,
Williams, thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thank you for joining, Brother Siraj.
Yes.
Hey, my man, always
on point.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank
Our son,
Brother Trey, for joining us and adding his opinion. Always good, very intelligent young man. Love talking, critical thinking and talking about advancements. So next week I'm going to do a whole show on taxes.
Oh, wow.
So anybody that wants to file their own taxes, I recommend you filing your own taxes. It's not that hard. If you go to H&R Block or some of the tax outlets, you're normally going to pay anywhere from 20 to 30%. You can do it yourself and save that money. So I will talk about filing your taxes, how to do that in a very simple format. I mean, there are a lot of outlets now online. TurboTax is one. Everybody know about that. You can do it through H&R Block, has it set up to where you can do your own taxes. But 1040EZ, your 1040 form, your 1040A form, your 1040 loan form, which is an itemization form. I'll talk about those things, talk about some of the tax laws that you need to know about that you can also take advantage of, also talk about the child tax credit. So we'll do that. I'll take about 30 minutes. It won't be long. And then we will, we'll deal with that. That is part of my expertise.
Yes.
I want to share that knowledge with those that may want to do their own taxes and save yourself some money. To put back in your account. So thank you all for joining us. We love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Facebook. Thank you all for hanging in there with us through the technical portion. But again, if there's anybody out there, producer, I need a producer, contact Janice through Facebook. She'll get the message to me. We can talk and we will go from there.
Thank you. Good night.